Success starts in stillness. Introduction. We live in a world that moves too fast. From the moment our eyes open in the morning to the minute we finally close them at night, we are bombarded by noise, distractions, and endless demands. Our phones buzz with alerts, our calendars overflow with tasks, and our minds race with thoughts of what we need to do next. It's a never-ending cycle of activity and achievement, one that tells us the louder we are, the more we do, the more we will succeed. But success, true, meaningful success, doesn't come from being constantly on the go. It doesn't come from the frantic hustle, the sleepless nights, or the constant chase for more. Success, the kind that fulfills the soul, the kind that brings peace to your heart and clarity to your mind, starts in stillness. In this book, I'll invite you to explore a truth that's been lost in the noise of modern life. The power of slowing down. The kind of power that comes when we stop and listen to the quiet whispers within us. The kind that helps us reconnect with our deepest purpose, our truest selves, and the world around us in a more meaningful, intentional way. Stillness isn't about doing nothing. It's not about being passive or avoiding challenges. It's about creating space. Space to hear your thoughts, feel your emotions, and connect with your inner wisdom. It's about pausing long enough to catch your breath, to reflect, to recalibrate your energy, and to reset your mindset. In the stillness, you'll find clarity that's buried beneath the noise. You'll discover a wellspring of creativity, focus, and peace that the world desperately needs but doesn't know how to find. Our culture has sold us a lie, that success is measured by how much we accomplish, how many hours we put in, and how visible we are. But that's not success at all. That's burnout disguised as achievement. True success is not about being loud, it's about being present. It's about being in tune with your inner rhythm, aligning your actions with your values, and making choices that honor your peace, your health, and your relationships. This book is a journey, a call to slow down in a world that's always speeding up. It's an invitation to stop chasing and start being, to let go of the need to prove yourself and embrace the stillness that holds the power of your highest potential. As you read these pages, I encourage you to do more than just absorb the words. I invite you to practice stillness, to pause, to breathe deeply, and to allow yourself to be transformed by the quiet revolution that starts within you. The world may be loud, but you don't have to be. Your true power begins when you choose to listen to the silence. Chapter 1. The world is loud, but you don't have to be. The world is loud, louder than ever before, buzzing, scrolling, ringing, demanding, pulling at your mind from the moment you open your eyes. Before your feet even touch the floor, you're already behind, already comparing, already drowning in voices that aren't your own. It's a constant storm. Social media shouting at you to be more, news screaming at you to fear more, ads whispering that you're not enough unless you buy, do, prove, chase. We live in a culture that worships noise, celebrates chaos, and labels stillness as laziness. But here's the truth they don't tell you. The louder the world gets, the more powerful your silence becomes. There is strength in being quiet, not because you have nothing to say, but because you're finally listening to yourself, to your breath, to the moment. Most people are so afraid of the pause because they've been taught that success means staying busy, being seen, never stopping. But what if real power comes from knowing when to stop, when to breathe, when to be still while the world spins around you. Stillness is not weakness. It's rebellion. It's choosing to protect your peace in a world addicted to productivity. It's not checking your phone the second you wake up. It's not reacting to every alert, every argument, every crisis that isn't yours to carry. It's walking slower, breathing deeper, saying no without guilt. And most of all, it's the sacred art of returning to yourself before you give yourself away to everything else. Because here's something no one teaches you in school or on TV. Your soul doesn't speak in volume, it whispers. And if your life is too loud, you'll miss it. You'll miss your inner wisdom, your gut feelings, that soft knowing that tells you who you are and what matters. The most successful people you'll ever meet aren't the loudest in the room. They're the calm ones, the grounded ones, the ones who don't chase every noise because they've already heard the voice that matters most, their own. So the next time the world tries to rush you, interrupt you, distract you, or make you feel like you're not doing enough, remember this. Silence is a sacred space where your power returns. You don't have to keep up. You don't have to be loud to be heard. You don't have to be everywhere to matter. Slow down. Get still. Because success, true, lasting, soul-fed success, starts not when you shout louder, but when you finally get quiet enough to listen. Chapter 2. Stillness is not weakness. They told you being still was the same as being lazy, that if you weren't grinding, sweating, pushing, proving, then you were falling behind. But that's a lie. A deep, culturally reinforced lie that's been passed down like a badge of honor in a society that confuses burnout with bravery. Stillness is not weakness. It's wisdom. It's the rare kind of strength that doesn't need applause, permission, or validation. Because when you're still, you're not doing nothing. You're doing something radical. You're listening. You're healing. You're letting your nervous system breathe after carrying too much for too long. You're choosing presence over pressure. That takes more courage than people realize. Anyone can be busy. Anyone can fill a calendar, check off tasks, keep moving so fast they never have to face what's underneath. But stillness, that's soul work. That's where you meet the truth you've been running from. And here's what most people won't tell you. Healing happens in the quiet. Clarity arrives when you stop running. Peace isn't found at the top of the hustle, it's found in the space you make when you step away from it. But because we live in a world that rewards exhaustion and glamorizes overachievement, stillness can feel like weakness to the untrained eye. It can look like quitting, like softness. But don't be fooled. Some of the strongest things on this planet don't. Make noise. A mountain doesn't move, yet it stands for thousands of years. The ocean doesn't rush to prove itself, yet it shapes the earth. And a person rooted in stillness, they carry a power that chaos can't shake. They're not thrown by every storm, every opinion, every outcome. They move with intention, not reaction. They know when to speak and when to stay silent, when to act and when to wait. And that kind of presence, it's magnetic. It draws in peace, clarity, alignment, and yes, success. Not the kind of success that drains you, but the kind that sustains you. So if you've ever been told you're too quiet, too calm, too slow, too sensitive, maybe that's your strength. Maybe you were never meant to keep up with a world addicted to noise. Maybe you were built to lead differently, to love differently, to succeed from a place of rest, not restlessness. Because here's the quiet truth you've known all along. Stillness isn't the absence of strength. It's where real strength is born. It's the anchor beneath the waves, the breath between the battles, the heartbeat beneath the surface. And when you trust it, when you stop apologizing for your pace, something beautiful happens. You stop performing and start living. You stop chasing and start aligning. And you realize that your softness was never your weakness. It was your power, waiting for permission to rise. Chapter 3. The Lie of the American Hustle. We were told that if we just worked hard enough, stayed up later, rose earlier, skipped the rest, sacrificed the weekends, and pushed past our limits, success would finally be ours. It was the promise, baked into every ad, every TED Talk, every Instagram caption. Hustle hard and you'll make it. But somewhere along the way, we stopped asking what making it even meant. We traded sleep for status, joy for deadlines, presence for productivity. We started believing the lie that burnout was a badge of honor, that exhaustion proved dedication, that stress meant we were really in the game. The American hustle wasn't built to free us. It was designed to keep us chasing, consuming, comparing, and never arriving. You can climb the ladder only to realize it was leaning against the wrong wall. And that's the heartbreak of it all. We spend our lives racing toward a version of success that never truly feeds us. We forget how to slow down long enough to ask, is this even what I want? The truth is, no one talks about what the hustle steals: your health, your peace, your presence at the dinner table, the sound of your own laughter. We glorify the grind, but at what cost? Hustle culture tells you your worth is tied to output, that rest is laziness, that if you stop, even for a second, someone else will beat you to the prize. But here's what the hustle never teaches you. Peace is also a form of progress. Rest is also productive. And choosing joy over pressure is not a weakness, it's wisdom. Real success isn't about running yourself into the ground. It's about building a life you don't need to escape from. It's being fully alive, not just endlessly busy. It's remembering that you are a human being, not a human doing. There's nothing noble about being constantly unavailable, emotionally drained, or physically depleted. You don't need to earn your worth through pain. You were already worthy, already enough, long before you were ever productive. So, what if you stopped chasing hustle and started choosing harmony? What if you stopped glorifying burnout and started honoring balance? What if your next level isn't in grinding harder, but in resting deeper, listening closer, and living slower? The hustle promised freedom, but delivered anxiety. Stillness, however, offers something radical in return: the power to define success on your terms. Because the most revolutionary thing you can do in a world that tells you to hustle harder is to pause and ask yourself, what if I'm already enough even when I'm still? Chapter 4. You are not lazy. You are overstimulated. You've probably called yourself lazy more times than you can count, sitting on the edge of your bed, overwhelmed by the simplest tasks, wondering why you can't just do it like everyone else seems to. You scroll past productivity tips, motivational quotes, and 5 a.m. routines that only make you feel worse, like you're broken or falling behind in a race you didn't sign up for. But let me offer a truth that might break something open inside. You are not lazy, you are overstimulated, your brain is tired, not unmotivated. Your nervous system is flooded, not faulty. You've been living in a constant state of on. Notifications, deadlines, background noise, expectations, emotional pressure, decision fatigue, and that's not what the human mind was built for. You weren't meant to take in this much information, this many opinions, this much noise every single day and still be fully functional. You're not weak, you're saturated. There's a difference. What looks like procrastination on the outside is often paralysis on the inside. What feels like laziness is sometimes just your body begging you to slow down, to breathe, to shut out the world so you can hear your own thoughts again. But because our culture doesn't reward rest, because we've been conditioned to feel guilty for doing nothing, you blame yourself instead of recognizing the system that's burning you out. The truth is, you care deeply. You want to do well. You have dreams, ideas, potential, but it's buried under layers of mental clutter and emotional noise that you were never taught how to process. When your brain is running on fumes, stillness isn't optional, it's necessary. And healing begins not with pushing harder, but with softening, with forgiving yourself for not moving at the world's pace, with understanding that sometimes doing nothing is the most powerful something you can offer your nervous system. So if today all you did was get out of bed, or breathe through the overwhelm, or resist the urge to numb yourself with another scroll, celebrate that. Because that is not laziness. That is quiet resistance. That is survival. That is strength. And maybe, just maybe, the reason you can't move forward right now isn't because you're not enough, but because you've never been given enough space to reset. So pause. Turn the volume down. Let silence be your medicine. Let rest be your rebellion. You don't need to be fixed. You need to be heard, held, and healed. And that starts with letting go of the lie that your worth is measured by how much you produce. You are not lazy, you are human, and you are allowed to rest. Chapter 5. Real confidence begins in quiet spaces. Real confidence doesn't begin when someone claps for you. It begins in those quiet, unseen moments when no one's watching, and you choose to believe in yourself anyway. The world teaches us that confidence is loud, that it's walking into a room with swagger, speaking over others, owning the spotlight. But that's just performance. That's armor. True confidence is quieter. It's subtle, steady, rooted. It's built in silence, in the soft spaces where you face your doubts without running, where you sit with your flaws without shame, where you learn to trust your voice before anyone else validates it. You don't build confidence by being louder. You build it by being honest with yourself. You build it by sitting in stillness and asking, who am I without the noise? Who am I when no one's looking? Who am I when I'm not performing for approval? And that's where most people get it wrong. They confuse confidence with ego, volume with value, presence with perfection. But the most powerful kind of confidence comes from knowing you don't need to prove anything to anyone, because you've already proven it to yourself. That kind of belief can't be faked. It's earned in quiet spaces, in early mornings when you rise before the world does, in late nights when you reflect on what really matters, in those sacred moments when you pause, breathe, and realize that you are enough, even when you're not achieving, entertaining, or impressing. Stillness gives you access to that kind of truth. It silences the outside voices long enough for you to hear your own. And when you hear your own voice clearly, without distortion, without fear, without competition, you stop looking for confidence out there because you've found it in here. You walk into rooms differently. You don't need to dominate, You just need to be. You don't need to shout. Your presence speaks for you. You don't need to have all the answers, just the courage to be real. The people who radiate the most confidence are rarely the ones making the most noise. They're the ones who've made peace with themselves. Stillness is how you get there. Stillness is where you meet the you that isn't desperate for attention or afraid of being overlooked. Stillness is where you remember your worth doesn't come from how loud you are, but how deeply you know yourself. So if you've been told you're too quiet, too soft, too slow, take that as a compliment. Because in a world that mistakes noise for power, your calm is revolutionary. Let it remind you that you don't need to chase confidence. You are confidence once you're still enough to feel it. Chapter 6. When you stop running, you start healing. We live in a world that tells us to keep running, to keep moving forward, to hustle through every emotion, every challenge, every setback, and just power through it all. It's as if we're taught that speed equals success, that momentum is the key to healing, and that sitting still means we've given up. But here's the truth. Healing doesn't come in a sprint. It doesn't come from pushing harder or running faster. It comes when you stop, when you finally allow yourself to feel the weight of what you've been carrying, without distraction, without rushing, without pretending to be okay. When you stop running, you create space for what's been buried inside of you to come up to the surface. The grief, the hurt, the fear, the anger, all the emotions you've been too busy to face. And here's the beauty in that. When you stop running, you stop numbing, you stop avoiding. You allow yourself the space to feel everything that needs to be felt. It's not weakness, it's strength, it's courage, it's acknowledging that you are human, and that you've been holding on too long, moving too fast and ignoring the parts of you that need attention. Healing isn't linear. It's not something that happens when you keep going until you're exhausted. It's something that happens when you stop, when you breathe, when you sit with the pain long enough to understand it, long enough to release. And that is where your real power lies, not in how far you've run, but in how deeply you can sit with yourself, how patiently you can wait for the pieces to come together. The truth is, we're all running from something, whether it's past trauma, fear of failure, or the relentless need to prove ourselves. But when you stop running, you create the space for real healing to happen. The body begins to recover. The heart begins to soften. The mind begins to rest. The spirit begins to reconnect with its true purpose. Healing isn't about outrunning your wounds. It's about sitting still long enough to let them heal. So, if you feel like you've been running too long, if you feel like you've been moving through life at full speed, take a moment to stop. Give yourself permission to breathe, to sit in the quiet, to reflect, to heal. Because when you stop running, you give yourself the greatest gift you can ever receive, the chance to heal and start again. Not in a rush, but in peace. And it's in that peace, that stillness, that you find the strength to truly move forward, not just faster, but wiser. Chapter 7. How to sit with silence without fear. Silence can feel uncomfortable, even terrifying at times. In a world that's constantly speaking, filling every empty moment with noise, silence often feels like a void, something to be avoided, feared, even fought against. When you sit still and the world fades away, it can be unnerving at first. The thoughts rush in, unspoken worries, insecurities, the stories you've been running from. It's like you're forced to confront the quiet corners of your mind that you've been avoiding. But here's the thing. Silence isn't your enemy. It's not a place where you disappear. It's where you finally show up. The fear you feel in the silence is not because of the silence itself, but because it's the space where you meet your truth, unfiltered. And while that truth can be overwhelming, it's also freeing. Sitting with silence is about learning to be present without judgment, to breathe through the discomfort instead of running from it. It's about making peace with your thoughts, not pushing them away. The more you practice sitting in stillness, the less afraid you become. It's like stepping into a quiet room where you've been avoiding your reflection. You may feel vulnerable at first, but eventually you realize that this reflection is who you truly are, not who you've been conditioned to be. Silence is not a blank space waiting to be filled with noise. It's an invitation to reconnect, to recalibrate, and to hear the whispers of your own soul. You don't need to have all the answers. You don't need to chase every thought that comes your way. Just sit, breathe. Let the thoughts come and go like clouds passing in the sky. In that moment, you are not defined by the noise around you or the expectations of the world. You are simply here. You are enough. And in that stillness, you may find the answers you've been searching for, not in loud declarations, but in the gentle whispers of your heart. It's time to stop fearing the silence. It's time to sit with it, trust it, and let it heal you. Because when you stop filling every moment with distractions, you realize that silence is not the absence of sound, but the presence of peace. Chapter 8. Success has a frequency, and it's slower than you think. We live in a world that's obsessed with speed, hustle, grind, more, faster, always moving. The idea of success is often painted as a race, a constant sprint to the finish line, as if the louder you work and the quicker you move, the faster you'll get there. But here's the secret. Success has a frequency, and it's slower than you think. We've been trained to believe that success means doing more, filling every minute with activity, and racing against the clock. But in reality, the most profound, impactful achievements happen at a much gentler pace. Success isn't a sprint. It's a rhythm, a dance between effort and ease, pushing and pulling, moving forward and knowing when to pause. Think about the most successful people in history. What stands out is not their speed, but their ability to stay calm, focused, and aligned with their true purpose. They move deliberately, with intention. They're not in a rush to prove themselves, because they already know their worth. Success flows from a place of trust, not urgency. And that trust comes when you understand that slowing down is not the same as being lazy. It's not a sign of weakness. It's a choice to tune in to your inner rhythm, to align your actions with your deeper goals, rather than getting lost in the noise of the world. Just like a musician has to find the right beat to play in tune with the band, you too must find your own frequency. When you're in harmony with it, everything falls into place, and things come with ease. Success at the speed of life isn't about racing from one task to the next. It's about carving out moments of stillness where you can think clearly, make intentional decisions, and move forward in a way that's sustainable. When you slow down, you create space for your mind to expand, your ideas to deepen, and your intuition to guide you. It's in this space that you discover what really matters, and what truly leads to long-lasting success. You stop chasing after success like it's something that's always just out of reach, and you start to recognize that it's already within you, waiting to unfold at its own pace. So, the next time you feel like you need to hurry, remember, success doesn't race, it flows. And when you align yourself with the pace that feels right for you, you'll find that your progress, your joy, and your success come naturally, with less effort and more fulfillment. Chapter 9. Stillness unlocks creativity and vision. In the midst of the noise, creativity has no room to breathe. The constant buzz of distractions, deadlines, and demands chokes your imagination, keeping it in a cage of anxiety. You push through, trying to force new ideas, thinking that the harder you work, the more your creativity will flow. But the truth is, creativity doesn't respond to pressure. It responds to freedom. It thrives in spaces of stillness, where the mind is allowed to wander, where there's no rush to create something just for the sake of creating. When you give yourself permission to pause, to breathe deeply without agenda, that's when the floodgates open. It's in the quiet moments, walking alone, staring out the window, sitting with a cup of tea, that your best ideas will emerge. They come not from your force of will, but from your willingness to let go of control, to stop trying to manipulate inspiration into existence. Your vision becomes clearer when you stop pushing and start receiving. In those silent spaces, your inner creativity can finally stretch, expand, and take root in a way that it never could in the chaos of constant doing. Think about the greatest minds throughout history. The innovators, the artists, the visionaries. They weren't the ones hustling non-stop. They were the ones who took long walks in nature, sat in silence for hours, allowed their thoughts to drift freely. Stillness is where vision is born, because vision isn't about fitting into the boxes the world gives you. It's about seeing the world as it could be, not just as it is. When you step into stillness, you make room for new possibilities, for ideas that haven't yet been imagined. And when your mind is still, it can hear the whispers of your own intuition, ideas that are uniquely yours, not recycled from everyone else's noise. So when you feel the pressure to perform, to meet deadlines, or to constantly do, pause, take a breath, step away from the chaos and let your mind wander. When you return to your work, you'll come back with a fresh perspective, new energy, and ideas that seem to flow effortlessly. Stillness is not the enemy of productivity. It's the birthplace of it. It is the sacred space where your creativity and vision can unfold at their own pace. Trust that in those moments of quiet, you're not wasting time. You're investing in the clarity that will guide you toward your next great creation. Chapter 10. You don't need more time. You need more presence. We've all said it. I don't have enough time. It's the most common excuse, the default response when we're overwhelmed or exhausted. We live in a world obsessed with time, where every minute is scheduled and every second feels like a race. But what if I told you the problem isn't the number of hours in your day? What if the problem isn't time at all? The real issue lies in how we use the time we have. We're so busy chasing the clock that we've forgotten how to be present in the moments that really matter. It's not that we don't have time for the things we care about, it's that we're scattered, distracted, and disconnected from the now. We multitask, constantly thinking about what's next, instead of fully engaging with what's in front of us. We rush from one thing to the next, never truly giving our attention to any of it. And in the process, we miss out on the richness of life, the depth of our relationships, and the satisfaction of doing things with intention. The truth is, you don't need more time. You need more presence. When you choose to be present, you shift from surviving the day to truly living it. Presence means you're not thinking about the next task while talking to a friend. You're there, fully, in that conversation. It means you're not looking at your phone while you're having dinner with your family. You're savoring the food, the laughter, the shared moments. Presence means you stop checking the clock every few minutes and start appreciating the time you've been given. Time expands when you focus on the present moment. You don't need more hours. You need to be more intentional with the ones you have. The people who truly succeed aren't the ones who work non-stop. They're the ones who bring their full presence to whatever they're doing. Whether they're working, relaxing, or spending time with loved ones, they're not mentally somewhere else. They're there. And the best part? When you live in the present, life stops feeling like a race. You stop feeling like you're running out of time. Because when you're present, you start to see that time isn't something you need more of. It's something you can enjoy more fully. The moments you live now are the only ones that truly matter. And when you choose to live in them, you discover that the pace of life isn't as important as the presence you bring to it. So the next time you feel overwhelmed, remember this. You don't need more time. You just need to show up for the time you've already been given. Chapter 11. Reset your nervous system, reset your life. The truth is, your nervous system is tired. It's running on fumes, constantly reacting to the noise around you, even when you think you're okay. You're overstimulated, overworked, and your body is always on high alert. It's like a phone that's been charged too many times without ever being turned off. Slow, sluggish, and in desperate need of a reset. The constant state of doing, reacting, and stressing isn't just a habit. It's a deeply ingrained pattern that lives within your nervous system, wiring you to feel on edge, disconnected, and overwhelmed. But here's the thing. You don't have to live in fight or flight mode forever. Your body is designed for recovery, for peace, for stillness. When you stop long enough to allow your nervous system to reset, you begin to create the foundation for a life that feels lighter, more grounded, and deeply in tune with your purpose. It's a practice. It's slowing down, even when everything around you says go faster. It's choosing quiet over chaos, presence over productivity, calm over constant motion. When you engage in regular stillness, whether through meditation, deep breathing, or simply taking moments to pause throughout the day, your body recalibrates. Your heart rate slows, your muscles release tension, your breath deepens, and your thoughts begin to clear. And with that clarity comes something incredibly powerful. Your ability to see and choose what truly matters. A reset isn't just about feeling less anxious. It's about returning to your center, to the truth of who you are, without all the noise and distraction. It's about resetting the lens through which you see the world so that you can make decisions with clarity, creativity, and calm rather than fear, stress, or overthinking. The irony is, by choosing stillness and resetting your nervous system, you actually become more productive, more intentional, and more connected to the things that are truly important. The speed of the world won't change, but your ability to navigate it without losing yourself in the chaos will. You'll begin to realize that you don't need to hustle harder to succeed. You just need to reconnect with yourself. So take a deep breath. Slow down. Rest. Reset. Because when your nervous system is aligned, your life begins to shift in ways you never thought possible. You'll find more energy, more joy, and more peace. Not because life slows down, but because you have learned to slow down with it. Chapter 12. The Sacred Pause. Reclaiming the lost art of doing nothing. In a world that glorifies busyness, we've forgotten the art of doing nothing, and in that forgetting, we've lost something sacred. We're taught from an early age that rest is a reward for hard work, not a right we deserve as human beings. But what if doing nothing isn't a luxury, but a necessity? The sacred pause, the space between the doing, the striving, the achieving, is where your soul rests, where your mind recalibrates, and where your heart reconnects with what truly matters. We've been conditioned to believe that nothing is wasted time. But doing nothing doesn't mean you're falling behind. It doesn't mean you're lazy or unproductive. It means you're allowing the universe to breathe with you. It means you're reclaiming space for the deeper parts of yourself to emerge. In the pause, we reconnect with creativity, intuition, and the inner voice that tells us what we really want from life, not what society expects of us. The sacred pause is more than just stopping, it's a practice of being. It's letting go of the pressure to always be on, always be moving forward, always be hustling. It's sitting still in the face of a culture that insists you must always be doing something to prove your worth. But doing nothing is the antidote to burnout, to anxiety, to the empty chase for success that leaves you feeling hollow. It's in the pause that you can hear the deepest parts of yourself, where you can catch your breath, recalibrate your direction, and remember that you are enough without doing a single thing. True success isn't found in constant motion. It's found in the stillness, the moments between the rush, the spaces where you simply exist without pressure or expectation. Doing nothing isn't a waste. It's a sacred, transformative act. It's how you realign with your truth. It's how you find peace in a world that demands you stay busy. So, when was the last time you allowed yourself to pause? Not to check your phone, not to plan, not to worry, but simply to be. The next time you feel the weight of the world pushing you to do more, to be more, to hustle harder, take a moment to reclaim the sacred pause. Trust that the space between all the doing is where you will find your real power, your real purpose, and your deepest peace. Chapter 13. You can't hear your calling through the noise. There's a calling inside you, a deep, quiet pull that has been there all along. It's the thing that speaks to you in the still moments, the thing you might have heard as a child when you weren't yet bogged down by the expectations of others. But here's the problem. In the world we live in, it's almost impossible to hear it. The world is loud, and the noise is deafening. Every time you check your phone, you're bombarded with distractions. Every news cycle, every social media post, every conversation pulls you farther from the truth that lives inside you. You begin to drown in the noise, and the calling, that soft voice that is uniquely yours, gets quieter and quieter until you can't hear it at all. It's easy to think that you need more information, more advice, more validation from the outside world to figure out your purpose. But the truth is, you can't find your calling in the noise. The answers are not out there, they're in you. They always have been. But how can you hear them if you're running in circles, listening to everyone but yourself? How can you hear your calling when your life is constantly moving, when the world is shouting at you to do more, be more, accomplish? Or it's easy to get lost in that endless cycle, thinking that the next achievement will bring you closer to what you're meant to do. But it never does. The only way to truly hear your calling is to quiet the noise, to make space, to get still, and allow your own voice to rise up, free from the distractions and pressures that cloud it. The voice that tells you what you need, what you want, what is true for you, not anyone else. It's the voice that speaks in your gut when you sit quietly with yourself. It's the voice that shows up when you stop looking outward and finally turn inward. You don't need to climb a mountain to find your purpose. You need to sit quietly long enough to feel it stir inside you. The noise of the world will always be there, but you don't have to be consumed by it. It doesn't have to control you or drown you out. The next time you feel lost or unsure of your direction, pause. Silence the noise, even for just a moment. Listen for the still voice that is already guiding you. And remember, your calling isn't something you have to go out and find. It's something you already carry inside you. But you'll only hear it when you stop running, stop doing, and finally start listening. Chapter 14. Meditation is a mirror. Meditation is not an escape, it's a mirror. It doesn't transport you away from the world, but instead it pulls the world within, showing you things you might not have been ready to face. When you sit in silence, without distractions, your thoughts become the lens through which you see yourself, your fears, your desires, your wounds, and your potential. It's like looking into a reflection that isn't always flattering, but it's always true. The mind has a way of holding on to things, beliefs about who you are, what you've been through, what you should be doing, what's wrong with you, what's missing, that you've long since forgotten to examine. Meditation gives you the space to finally notice them, without judgment, without the urgency to fix them. It's a space where you don't have to be anyone or do anything except be, and in that being, the mirror reveals what's underneath the surface of your daily grind. The quiet isn't just empty space, it's a space for you to reconnect with the most important relationship you'll ever have, the one with yourself. In this stillness, the self-talk you've been ignoring for years starts to speak. And as uncomfortable as it may feel at first, there's beauty in that discomfort. Because in those moments of silence, you start to see who you really are, not who you've been told to be. You see the patterns, the stories, and the beliefs that have shaped you, and you get to decide, are these mine? Meditation is not about achieving some ideal state of blissful peace. It's about being real with yourself. It's about seeing your truth without the filters, without the noise, without the distractions. And when you truly see yourself, when you stop running from what's hidden inside, something miraculous happens. You begin to heal. You begin to grow, not because you forced it, but because you've made space for it to happen naturally. The mirror of meditation reflects all that you are, not just the parts that are pretty or easy to accept, but the whole you, with your light and your shadow. And in that reflection, you find the path forward. You find the answers you've been searching for. Not because they're new, but because they were always there, waiting for you to slow down long enough to notice. So, the next time you sit in meditation, don't expect perfection. Don't expect to feel good or right. Instead, simply ask, what is this moment showing me? And trust that the reflection you see is the key to the life you're meant to live. Chapter 15. Digital Detox, Escaping the Trap of Constant Input. We live in an age where the flow of information is relentless. Notifications ping from all directions, social media alerts, news updates, emails demanding your attention. Your phone is always within reach, a portal to a world that doesn't stop, even when you need to. The constant buzz of connection is seductive. It feels like if you're not plugged in, you're missing something crucial, something important. But what if the real cost isn't what you're missing, but what you're losing? Every minute spent scrolling, every post you read, every breaking news update is another moment you sacrifice of your time, your focus, and your peace. The noise isn't just external, it's internal too. You begin to feel incomplete without the next hit of dopamine, the next notification. You're no longer choosing what you let into your life. You're being dictated by the flow of data. This constant input, this flood of other people's thoughts, opinions, and demands, leaves you feeling scattered, drained, and often disconnected from yourself. The truth is, the more you let in, the more you lose touch with what's truly important. You stop hearing your own voice. You stop listening to your inner guidance. You forget what it feels like to just be. A digital detox is not about abandoning technology or becoming disconnected from the world. It's about taking back control, choosing when and how you engage with it, and giving yourself permission to rest from the noise. It's about stepping away from the screen and tuning back into your life, your body, your thoughts. It's about setting boundaries that protect your mental and emotional space. Imagine waking up and not reaching for your phone. Imagine a day without checking social media first thing, without scrolling through endless feeds, without the compulsion to react to every email and alert. Imagine being present with the people around you, without the temptation to check your phone under the table. A digital detox doesn't have to be extreme, but it does need to be intentional. Start small. Set time limits on social media. Designate phone-free hours. Take a weekend to disconnect completely. No email, no social media, just you and the present moment. Reclaim your time, reclaim your space, and reclaim your mind. The more you step away from constant input, the more you'll discover how rich and fulfilling life can be without the noise. In the silence, you'll find clarity, you'll find focus, you'll find peace. And in that peace, you'll discover that the real conversations, the real connections, and the real success don't happen through a screen. They happen in the moments where you're fully present, fully aware, and fully alive. Chapter 16. Rest as a radical act of self-worth. In a world that tells you to hustle harder, do more, and achieve bigger, rest can feel like a rebellion. It feels counterintuitive to stop when there's always more to be done. When you're taught that your value is directly tied to your productivity, the idea of pausing, just sitting still, feels like an act of defiance. But what if I told you that rest isn't just necessary for survival? What if rest is the most radical act of self-worth you can perform? In a culture that measures you by how much you do, how much you produce, and how many boxes you can tick, off before the day ends, choosing to rest says, I am enough just as I am. It's a declaration that your worth is not defined by your output. Rest isn't indulgence, It's a revolutionary act. It's an unapologetic stand against the constant pressure to perform, achieve, and prove yourself. It's a statement to the world that you know your value doesn't depend on what you do or how busy you are. You are worthy simply because you exist. But more than that, when you give yourself permission to rest, you create space for your body, mind, and spirit to recharge. You reconnect with your true self, the one who isn't chasing accolades or approval. You slow down enough to hear your free intuition. To process emotions you've been too busy to feel and to find peace in simply being. Rest is not about escaping the demands of life, but rather embracing the truth that you cannot pour from an empty cup. You are not a machine. You're a human being, deserving of care, kindness, and time to rejuvenate. The world may not stop turning when you take a break, but you will. And that's exactly what you need. The ancient wisdom says, to rest is to renew. And when you renew, you bring back your best self, more focused, more creative, more present, and most importantly, more authentically you. Imagine the power in that. In a society that is obsessed with grinding and achieving, choosing to rest becomes the ultimate act of honoring yourself. It says, I am worth more than the sum of my tasks. Rest is an investment, not in what you do, but in who you are. And that's where the magic happens. Because the moment you realize you are worthy of rest, you also realize you are worthy of everything else. Worthy of peace, worthy of love, worthy of success that doesn't burn you out, worthy of a life that feels whole instead of fragmented. So, take a moment, breathe deeply, and give yourself permission. Rest isn't a luxury. It's a radical act of self-respect, a deep acknowledgement of your value in a world that rarely pauses long enough to see it. Chapter 17. You don't have to chase everything that moves. We live in a world that tells you to chase everything, to run after every opportunity, every trend, every shiny thing that seems like it could be the next big break. It's easy to get caught up in the madness, thinking that if you're not constantly moving, you're falling behind. Go harder, go faster, don't stop. The voices are loud, the pressure is real. But here's the thing. Not everything that moves is worth your attention, and not every opportunity is a path worth chasing. In fact, some of the most valuable things in life don't come from a sprint. They come from stillness. They come from waiting. They come from trusting that what's meant for you will find its way to you without the endless hustle. The truth is, constantly chasing after everything is exhausting and ultimately unfulfilling. It pulls you away from the moments that matter most. The quiet moments with yourself, with the people you love, with the things that ground you. You don't have to say yes to every invitation. You don't have to jump on every trend or be everywhere at once. Sometimes, the best thing you can do is stop chasing, take a breath, and let the world move around you. You are not a puppet on a string, dancing to every call. You are a person with boundaries, with a purpose, and with a unique path that doesn't require you to be everywhere all the time. When you stop chasing everything that moves, you free up space to pursue what truly matters. You find peace in knowing that not all opportunities need to be seized, and not all paths need to be followed. It's okay to let some things pass by, trusting that the right things will come back around in time. Real success isn't about grabbing at everything. It's about choosing what aligns with your heart and your values, and letting the rest fall away. So, stop running. Stop chasing. Start trusting. The most meaningful things in life often require a slower pace. A pace where you can truly see what's in front of you, where you can feel your own heart beating, where you can listen to your inner voice guiding you toward what's truly meant for you. You don't have to chase everything that moves. The right things will always find their way to you when you stop trying to catch them. Chapter 18. Stillness strengthens relationships. In a world where everyone seems to be rushing, talking over one another, and constantly running from one place to the next, the most precious thing you can offer in a relationship is your presence. Stillness is the bridge between hearts. When we're still, truly still, we can hear the unspoken words. We can feel the weight of emotions that aren't said aloud. In a conversation, it's not just about the words, but about the pause between them, the space where understanding settles. You've probably experienced this, those moments where, in the quiet, you sense someone's pain before they even speak it. That's the magic of stillness. It's the act of listening with your heart, not just your ears. And it's in this space where the deepest connections happen. The truth is, we're so often distracted, thinking about what we need to say next, or how we can fix things, that we forget the most powerful thing we can do for another person is simply to be there. Stillness allows us to sit with someone's discomfort without needing to make it go away, to accept their joy without the urge to overshadow it. It creates space for empathy, for compassion, and for truly seeing the other person without judgment. Imagine how much stronger your relationships could be if you could just give people the gift of being fully present, without rushing to the next thing or getting caught up in your own inner noise. It's easy to get distracted by your thoughts, your worries, your to-do list. But when you choose to be still, you choose to invest in the moment. You choose to be there, completely, without reservation. This stillness doesn't just strengthen your relationships with others. It strengthens your relationship with yourself. The more you practice being still, the more you understand who you are, what you need, and how to show up for those you care about. In fact, stillness is the foundation of trust. The more you give someone your undivided attention, the more they feel seen, valued, and safe. And in a world that's often loud and disorienting, those feelings are rare. When we slow down, we're not only able to be more present for others, we also become more attuned to what they truly need. We are able to listen beyond the surface, beyond the words, and meet them in the place where the heart speaks. Stillness brings a kind of peace that allows two people to simply exist in the same space without the need for constant conversation or external validation. It's the quiet moments that make the loudest impact, whether it's holding someone's hand in silence or simply sitting next to them without saying a word. Those are the moments that create bonds stronger than anything words can express. So, let the world rush around you. Let others fill the air with noise and activity. But in your relationships, choose stillness. Choose presence. Because in that quiet space, true connection is born, and that connection, that's what makes all the difference. Chapter 19. Become the calm in the chaos. In the midst of chaos, when everything seems to be unraveling, there is a quiet power that rises within those who choose to remain calm. The world spins faster and faster, and it feels like the demands. Distractions and challenges are coming from all directions. But what if, in the heart of this storm, you could be the one who stands unshaken? What if, instead of being pulled into the frenzy, you became the anchor that holds steady? This is the kind of calm that is not passive or weak, but active and powerful. It's the calm of knowing that, while you can't control everything around you, you can always control how you respond. It's the ability to breathe deeply, to ground yourself in the present, and to find clarity in the middle of confusion. The world will always be chaotic. There will always be noise, stress, deadlines, and problems that demand your attention. But the most resilient, successful people, the ones who navigate life's storms with grace, are those who have mastered the art of staying calm. This doesn't mean ignoring the chaos or pretending it isn't there. It means not letting it define you. It means taking a moment, even in the busiest day, to check in with yourself, to pause, breathe, and recalibrate your energy, to find the space between the noise, where you can choose your next step with intention rather than reaction. When you choose calm, you become the anchor for others as well. People will look to you for stability, for guidance, for a sense of peace in their own lives. In this chaotic world, being calm is a revolutionary act. It's the courage to take a breath when everyone else is panicking, the strength to hold steady when the winds are howling, and the wisdom to know that peace is not something you find in the world. It's something you create within yourself. You don't have to follow the noise, get caught up in the rush, or let the chaos dictate your pace. Instead, become the calm in the chaos. Become the one who can sit in the storm with a still heart, who can face challenges with a quiet strength, and who knows that true power comes not from reacting to the chaos, but from choosing peace in the middle of it all. Chapter 20. Success starts in stillness, and it ends in peace. Success has always been defined by the world around you, the promotions, the followers, the accolades, the hustle, the relentless climb. We've been sold the idea that success means more to do, more to achieve, more to prove. But deep down, you know that's not real success. The more you chase external success, the more you lose yourself, the more you get caught in the whirlwind of wanting what others have, measuring your worth by what you do instead of who you are. And all along, your heart has been asking for something simple: peace. True success, the kind that nourishes your soul, begins with stillness. It starts when you stop running, stop striving, stop thinking that your value comes from your achievements. It starts when you take a step back and hear the whispers of your heart, the quiet voice inside that knows what you truly need. But here's the thing. Success doesn't end in the finish line of a race. It ends in peace. And peace isn't found in the noise, in the chasing, in the constant striving. Peace is found when you let go of the external validation, when you start living for yourself instead of for approval, when you finally allow yourself to slow down enough to be rather than do. Success isn't measured by how much you achieve, but by how much inner peace you carry with you along the way. And that peace comes when you're not just running through life, ticking off boxes and racing ahead, but when you take the time to breathe, to center yourself, to be still and present. Because when you're still, you hear your own voice. You reconnect with your own desires. And you realize that the success you've been chasing was never about more. It was about becoming the person who can find peace in the present moment, who can stand in the middle of chaos and remain grounded, who can make decisions with clarity and purpose, not out of fear or obligation. True success isn't the destination. It's the peace you carry with you while you walk the journey. When you make stillness your foundation, your success becomes effortless. And when peace is your goal, you understand that it's never about reaching the top. It's about finding joy and fulfillment wherever you are. Because success starts in stillness and it ends in peace. And that, my friend, is the greatest success of all. Conclusion. The world will keep spinning. The noise will keep rising. The demands will never stop knocking at your door. But here's the truth you now know. You don't have to join the chaos. You don't have to keep running, striving, grinding until there's nothing left of you. The noise will always be there, but your peace, your stillness is yours to claim. And that stillness is where everything real, everything lasting, everything meaningful begins. You see, success is not just about what you achieve, how much you do, or how loud you speak. True success is found in your ability to be present, to stop chasing and start listening, to silence the distractions long enough to hear the whispers of your soul. And when you listen, you'll hear the voice of your true power, the voice that says, you are enough. You are whole. You don't need to prove anything. In this stillness, you become grounded in who you are, and you begin to build a life from that foundation. The world doesn't define you, you define you. In the silence, you'll find the clarity to make decisions that feel aligned with your truth, to follow a path that speaks to your heart, not the world's expectations. So go ahead, slow down, breathe deeper, let go of the rush. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to be still. And as you do, the world will still spin, but your life will begin to feel more centered, more powerful, and more peaceful. Success doesn't start in the race. It starts in the stillness. And when you embrace that, you'll discover that you've been running on the wrong track all along. Welcome to the life you were always meant to live. One of calm, clarity, and quiet power.